Morris with the NSA.
We have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft.
Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Move very rapidly at any speed or whether any direction it wanted to go. Flag could change and go to the right or the left or go crossways without hesitating a bit.
What do you think it was?
Well, if they call it a flying saucer, that's what it is.
TWA 517, do you want to report a UFO? Over. Negative. We don't want to report.
Look, it wasn't my worst Wednesday night.
Good evening, everybody. This is Smiles Lewis, and you are tuned into yet another live edition of Anomaly-NOW, straight out of Austin, Texas. This is the weekly live Wednesday night news roundup show for the nonprofit 501c3 Scientific Anomaly Institute. It is September 6, 2023, and thank you for joining us. If you aren't joining us live, just know that every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the good old US of A on this rock called Earth, hurtling around the sun, we do this show where we round up the latest news and views associated with the strange world of anomalistics that covers everything from consciousness, cryptozoology, things like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, etc., to the mysteries of mind, parapsychology, the paranormal, ghost hauntings, poltergeists, and of course, everybody's favorite, UFOs, aka UAP. Again, thank you for joining us. If you go over to our website, you can find links to all of our past newsletters. You can find the directory to all the past episodes of this show. If you are hearing this show and are wondering what I'm talking about when I refer to looking at or showing you this or this picture or that video, know that there is an audio video component. There's a vodcast, a video podcast of this show. That is the main backbone of the show, the main version of this show. But we do also produce a traditional audio podcast. So depending upon how you're coming across us, if this is your first time listening, first time viewing, our YouTube channel for the Anomaly Archives has the archive of all the vodcasts, and then we put together a audio-only version of it that's slightly tweaked, but basically just the same thing, but just the audio, and that goes out through our Spreaker.com, one of the many podcasting platforms out there. We use Spreaker, which then resyndicates it, blasts it out to all the different directories out there, including creating yet another YouTube version of it that is audio only. So it's been funny when occasionally folks are introduced to the show through the video version without the video that's on our YouTube channel. It's a little confusing, folks, but if you're here, welcome. We'll get right into it. But like I say, you can go to our website, anomalyarchives.org, where we have links to various news web pages for various parts of our voluminous collection. Of course, our mission, our goal is the preservation of anomalistic material. And while we don't have a huge digital archive of everything, we mostly leave that to our friends over at AFU in Sweden, though we do actually have pretty much the exact same collection and other materials. We have links to some of the books and stuff such that we featured in past issues of our irregularly scheduled email newsletter. And I have a little bit of a plea for you tonight, folks. We do have merch. We have these wonderful shirts, mugs, mouse pads, coffee mugs, stickers, posters, designed by our good friend RPJ, Red Pill Junkie, aka Miguel Romero, whose company Absurd by Design produces a wealth of material, including lots of great cover art for some fantastic UFO and paranormal-oriented books. But if you go to the link that you can find over on our website, over here on the website, there is down here, Shop, the online store. You can click on that and it'll take you over to this product page where we've got all kinds of things, hoodies, shirts, as I say, coffee mugs, thermoses, everything. Great stuff. I've got some of it. Every dollar you spend there really, really helps us. We could really use your help and support. And that's just one way that you can support us. Of course, if you just want to donate money, you can find the link to donate through various means over at the website as well. Of course, the link to our Flipboard is also there on our website, and flipboard.com is where we aggregate our news, and there are thousands and thousands of articles there, including there are links to the now available audio and audio-video version, just like I was saying with our show. My good friend Russell Dowden, who I've known since about 1999 or 2000, I think. So like 24 years we've known each other. I was recently on his show. He's got a new show called Paranoid America. Yes, folks, I don't really think we need more paranoia in America right now, but Russ is having a good time and starting a new show there. He's been a longtime radio show host. He was doing a program back in the day called Set Lab, an acronym that I won't try to explicate. But among the links over at our Flipboard are a link to the full hour and plus, just over an hour long interview we did. We're just basically us shooting the expletive, just reminiscing with each other and having a good time. And he's also made a little short, like 9 or 10 minute clip that is, as he says, the origin story of his publishing career with me, where he asks me to recount the story of how his publishing career came to be. For those that don't know, in a nutshell, what he basically says, or what the story is, he helped produce the program for the 38th annual National UFO Conference that I was hosting in Austin in September of 2001. Anybody who knows me and the history of this knows that unfortunately it was so close to September 11th that we had to cancel the event because the planes weren't flying to bring in our speakers, let alone our guests. So, as I said in this interview, sort of out of the ashes of 9/11 came Russell to me saying, hey, man, we can do a new paranormal and parapolitical newspaper magazine. I'll be the publisher. I'll sell the ads. You be my editor. And I was like, that's great. I would love to do that. So I started writing and editing for Austin Paratimes, and I think it was launched in 2002. And some amazing synchronicities came about through that collaboration. I only stayed on with the magazine for about 3 or 4 issues, maybe 4 or 5 issues. And out of the Austin Paratimes, I went on to found in 2003 the Anomaly Archives nonprofit. But Russell kept going with his publishing career. He kept doing Austin Paratimes for a time. And at some point, he ceased doing Austin Paratimes. And our layout person, our layout staffer, a wonderful guy named Jason, launched Weird Magazine. Of course, if anybody's heard of Austin, Texas, you've heard the Chamber of Commerce endorsed Keep Austin Weird mantra. And so, of course, there had to be a Weird magazine that focused on the paranormal. And in that first issue of Weird Magazine, Jason did a nice article announcing the launching of the Anomaly Archives. And we're on the same page as the Leslie doll cutout. And for those of you who know anything about Austin's infamous weirdness, there was this wonderful person named Leslie who was a cross-dressing homeless person. I don't think they were actually homeless, but many people thought he was. Anyway, so Weird Magazine almost folded, but Russell moved in to take it on and kept it going. At some point, Russell became employed by Alex Jones, and Alex Jones got Russell to start the InfoWars magazine that was short-lived, and Russell was working for Alex for a while. Eventually, they parted ways, and Russell went on to do Rockstar magazine and started a magazine called Paranoid, and maybe he'll relaunch Paranoid America. Anyway, long story short, you can click on these links. There are audio and video versions of that interview. It was a fun time. Thank you, Russell. Really appreciate it. So where are we going to start tonight? Oh, well, I was going to let me switch gears here for a second and add in, yes, Half Price Books, a Texas tradition, has a sale. And sure enough, I had to go take advantage of their sale and get some fun used books. So this is one that I picked up, Parapsychology. It's just a little thing, nothing too exciting. or necessarily innovative, but also got this nuking the moon and other intelligence schemes and military plots left on the drawing board. Also got, yes, a copy. It looks like a brand new copy of the Principia Discordia, which of course is the Discordian Bible, so to speak. But what caught my attention, besides how slick and brand new this is that it's published by Steve Jackson Games from here in Austin. Of course, folks who are familiar with Steve Jackson Games or maybe have heard of his card game, Illuminati. It's one of the many old games, pocket games that he designed or his staff designed back in the day. And you may also remember that Steve Jackson Games was infamously raided by the FBI over the cyberpunk role-playing game because the feds thought it was a manual for hacking and cybercrime. Brilliant bunch of folks, those guys. And issues of Robert Anton Wilson's volumes 1 and 3 of Robert Anton Wilson's Cosmic Trigger. They didn't seem to have volume 2. Of course, I already have these in the Anomaly Archives collection, my personal collection, but again, so much of the collection is in storage right now, but I just had to have quick access again and get extra copies. And plus they were in very good shape and they were on sale, as I say. So what else did we get? Oh yeah, this is a nice thin compendium with a lot of interesting, weird oddity stories about Texas folklore, history, etc. So looking forward to diving in there. There's definitely some stories in there I was unfamiliar with that I think are going to be fun to read about. And last but not least, this Dark Side of the Brain book. Don't really know much, if anything, about that, but there you go. There were some of the recent acquisitions for the Anomaly Archives. So yes, on to some of tonight's news. It'll probably be a quick roundup, but as already mentioned, you can find the links in our Flipboard and go check out the interview that I did with Russell Dowden. And there's a link to the audio, there's a link to the video there in the same audio page. Recently, I got to watch, I have not had the chance to see all the speakers. There were just so many where this is like 2 12-hour days of lectures on the paranormal and the UFO scene, put on by Ryan Sprague. Great job, Ryan. Really awesome, free conference. So the AnomaCon, you can go to AnomaCon.com, and the 2 different days videos are there and available for free. They're both about 11 to 12 hours long. He says that at some point they will be breaking them up into the separate lectures and uploading them. So looking forward to being able to link to the specific ones, but it's great stuff. Highly recommend that. So sticking to UFOs briefly, a Facebook group I belong to started a dialogue about the Grusch, the Dave Grusch whistleblower timeline and the seeming discrepancies. I would file this under the same kinds of issues that have been detected in the history storyline for the previous whistleblower, Lou Elizondo. He never really claimed to be a whistleblower, but certainly there was that aspect to his testimony and coming out. And this Twitter thread has this nice timeline that starts in 2009 with Dave Grusch starts his military career as a U.S. Air Force intelligence officer, goes on through different years, 2011, 2012, 2016, Grusch began serving in the National Reconnaissance Office, NRO, as senior intelligence officer and also in the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA. By 2021, he is a GS-15 civilian equivalent to a military colonel, and it goes on and on. But of course, there's been a lot of contention about what he says is his timeline, his life story, versus what is apparently publicly available. But we'll provide the links to that. Here's another version of that by a different source, Papoose Lake Institute. That's papooselake.org. The Bob Lazar Archive, I don't know who maintains this. I don't think this is publicly linked to on any of these links, but I haven't had the chance to really explore it. But this does have links, presumably to images off-site of some of these documents or detail information, more information about these different points in Grusch's timeline. So folks might find that of interest. Meanwhile, as far as news goes in the world of UAP, here we have over at defensescoop.com, Hicks takes direct oversight of Pentagon's UAP office, new reporting website to be launched. And yep, sure, there's been this website launched for Arrow, finally, a year after they, as they say, stood up this office of Arrow. AARO. They've relieved of duty or shifted the person who was previously in the main leading role in separate discussions over the last week. Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks and a Pentagon spokesperson briefed Defense Scoop on the near-term vision for the all-domain anomaly resolution office. Who is the officer? I'm forgetting his name, who was pushed aside. Well, some UFO reporters are saying that the fellow was fired. I don't know if that's exactly true. It may just be a reassignment. And I am not seeing the name that I'm looking for in here, but it's not Sean Kirkpatrick. No, it's not. He hasn't been put aside. But it's frustrating. I mean, it's taken them this long to get their website up, and I probably should have pulled that up. And I didn't pull this up, but in our newsfeed added recently, here we go. News Nation has this video. National Archives digitizes once secret UFO records, like this image here of a lenticular cloud. Most of the stuff that's shown in this video appears to just be, less than interesting IFOs, balloon footage that they're saying is allegedly linked to Roswell, with a couple of other interesting bits and pieces. But the best thing for me, as somebody who's involved in archival preservation work, is the interviews and the views behind the scenes of the National Archives and them describing the process of the digitizing of these materials. And I believe they've said something that it may be as many as 10,000 items that they've already, or they're saying that they've already digitized thousands of items, which I needed to see if that's true, because it seems a bit more than I would expect at this point. Washington Post has an article in U.S. Most UFO documentation is classified, not so in other countries. But this article, I'll go click on this, and it's got a lot of pictures. I think MSN has also reproduced the same article, but there's some samples of the kinds of material that you will see in this recent quote-unquote disclosure. Not the type of thing we're really hoping for, I would bet. So meanwhile, I did want to draw folks' attention to this wonderful homage memorial to David Perkins, who I was talking about in the last few weeks, the cattle mutilation UFO researcher friend who passed away, sadly, just recently. And Chris O'Brien, another famous mutologist, cattle mutilation researcher, penned this wonderful ode to his friend. And he tells a story that I'm pretty sure I had heard a long time ago, presumably straight from Mr. Perkins, David himself, Izzy Zane, as he was known to his closest friends. There's also some great photographs of David younger that I had never seen. This picture of him and Roberta Price at Libra in 1969, which is apparently one of the I think the longest running commune in the United States. But it mentions here David, a Yale graduate with a master's in political science, possessed a towering intellect, and was one of a small handful of Ivy League postgraduates that became publicly linked to paranormal and other low-status proto-scientific subjects. I publicly stated for years that I considered him to be one of our most creative analysts and foremost thinkers. He was also one of the field's most unsung and little known, but his loss is huge for both the field and myself personally. He also links to Roberta Price's award-winning book called Huerfano. Maybe that's the name of the commune. She wrote, quote, in the acknowledgments to the book, as the revolution got stuck up to its hubs in the Reagan years, David got more and more interested in the paranormal, UFOs, crop circles, rods, and his specialty, the unexplained cattle mutilations reported throughout the country for the past 35 years. He's always studied the extremes in our culture and believes that the paranormal is the key to understanding consciousness. He compiled his X-Files long before the television program. He founded and writes for a regional magazine, Western Spirit, played a role in local politics, writes articles on the history of the West, the environment, and the paranormal, and speaks at national conferences, dividing his time between Santa Fe and Libra. David's thorough edits and suggestions were invaluable, and his assistance on this work, with contents no doubt difficult for both of us, was always gracious. He did mention to me that he found it rather disconcerting to read descriptions of his private parts in his ex-wife's book. In the summer of 2003, David went to the White House with his lady Paige to dine with a freshman year drinking buddy from Yale, who was hosting a huge dinner for the class of 68 before their 35th reunion in New Haven. What he saw that night was harder to believe than the possibility of little green men from outer space. That's the story I'm referring to that I'm pretty sure I had heard before, but thankfully Chris O'Brien is documenting it here. Yeah, so basically, David was George W. Bush's roommate during his first 2 years at Yale. And apparently he was offered a large amount of money years later by Rolling Stone to do a tell-all interview about his time in college with his roommate, Shrub, George W. Bush. Allegedly even offered him as much as $250,000, allegedly. But something really strange happened at this dinner. The trip to the White House started out in a rather inauspicious manner when Paige was bitten by a White House squirrel upon their arrival to the dinner for 750 all-living members of the class of 68 plus their dates. Paige, not a Bush fan by any stretch, had chosen a spangled pretzel as her adornment in remembrance of the pretzel that almost choked W to death. Bush looked puzzled by the pretzel pin as they moved down the receiving line. After dinner, the president sat at a table on the stairs leading up to the residence while a large crowd of adoring women had their brief moment or two, each fawning over the leader of the free world as Bush's handlers hustled the women along. David, who hadn't spoken a word to Bush since his college days, stood off to the side watching the scene unfold and then saw his chance to approach the president and say hello. Bush immediately recognized him and enthusiastically began asking him how he'd been all those intervening years. Being that the USA was just about to invade Iraq, ever the trickster, Izzy then made a sardonic comment to him about Bush getting ready to, quote, go over there and kick some Arab ass. Upon hearing this, Bush stood up ramrod straight from the stare he had been enthroned on, and his eyes grew into a strange, wide-eyed stare as he began reciting in a robotic voice, I must be humble, I must be humble, I must be humble. Evidently, the dude's programming developed a skip in the Matrix, and poor W was hustled upstairs not to be seen again for the entire evening. Now, I wasn't there, but I don't doubt for a minute it's true. This is exactly the kind of weird-ass story that could only have occurred in the amazing life of Izzy Zane. Maybe it was a good thing Izzy didn't take the Rolling Stone up on their offer. At least we were then blessed with another 24 years of the Izmeister's company. Anyway, you can read the rest of this over there. This tribute to Izzy, to David Perkins. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and think you might as well. Real quickly, we have these news articles over at madinamerica.com. Psychiatric framework fails to capture unusual perception and voice hearing in youth. This is an interesting story about researchers in, I believe, is it Ireland? Yeah, Royal College of Physicians of Ireland. The study underscores the necessity for a more nuanced comprehension of phenomena often labeled as psychotic experiences, particularly when they manifest outside clinical settings. It has to do with comprehending unusual perceptual experiences and thoughts, UPTBs, among young people. I don't know exactly, I guess, unusual perceptual TBs. Thoughts. I'm not sure where the acronym comes from. Findings from this study offer new insights into the phenomenological qualities and characteristics of UPTBs in young adolescents. They also reveal that early adolescents may not make sense of their experiences within a psychiatric framework. These findings highlight the need to develop a more phenomenologically sensitive and nuanced approach to studying UPTBs in young people. It's not a very long article. I recommend you go check it out. It's worth contemplating. Definitely some food for thought. Meanwhile, over at psych.co, this interesting article, I think this is actually a fairly older article. I'm not sure if it's from last year. Basic sense of numbers is shared by countless creatures. This just talks about apparently the innate ability of everything from ants to bees to crows to mammals of being able to count, at least in at least in small number sets, and explores the idea of perhaps there is a genetic aspect to this, noting that some researchers have noticed that within fish species, certain individual fish may actually show better or worse skill at this. So they're thinking this may actually have some kind of genetic aspect that they can tease out from the research. The discovery of numerical abilities across the animal kingdom, even among ants, raises the question of whether to some extent our own abilities might have descended from the common ancestors of ants to humans. To establish the link, scientists would need to be able to identify genes that we and other animals share that are implicated in numerical abilities. Maybe this isn't so far-fetched. We share with other animals, even fruit flies, genes for timing. Another good review of something I'm going to be seeing soon over at Tampa Bay newspapers. This is the tbnweekly.com movie review of The Unbinding, the Greg and Dana Newkirk's new documentary about the crone. You may or may not want to read this. I don't know that there's any spoilers. I haven't seen it yet, the movie, but I don't want to risk anybody being spoiled the chance to experience this for the first time. I am a huge fan of the Newkirks and their traveling paranormal museum and all of their productions, so I highly recommend that. Meanwhile, over at rawsemantics.home.blog, we've got more audio tapes being digitized. Yay! Of Robert Anton Wilson, Raw Wilson. Raw tapes new to internet. Finally got around to digitizing several hours of old raw cassette tapes. Please check out the resulting MP3 files below. I've looked everywhere online to see if these talks interviews have been previously uploaded. I also checked commercially available raw recordings. As far as I can see, the digitized tapes below seem new to the internet. Please let me know if I've overlooked anything. And then there's the quote-unquote optional long-winded background on these. Being such a huge Robert Anton Wilson fan, thus the reference and display of the Cosmic Trigger Volumes 1 and 3 that I recently acquired, new extra copies of. I want to encourage folks. We cannot forget Raw. Lastly, I want to draw your attention to this article over at csferry.medium.com. This is Chris Ferry is the writer. That's Ferrie. Nothing is real. There's only information. This is an idea that I think is very important to trying to get beyond our silly materialist paradigms that reduce everything to Aristotelian, knock on wood, physical reality. It's everything is information and everything is energy. And if you can start thinking about the deeper implications of that, you might actually learn something about the strange phenomena that we seem so obsessed with within the paranormal and parapolitical realms. Yes, even perhaps the parapolitical, but definitely within the paranormal and UFO realms. And there is even a short video that I don't think that they estimate this as a 6-minute read. It doesn't look quite that long to me, but that's probably about right compared to this shorter video that is also available to synopsize. Well, that's probably going to do it for tonight. There's always a ton more that you can find, again, over at the website, over at the Flipboard. I encourage you to check it out. We hope you enjoyed tonight's show. And if you are so inclined, please make a donation or buy some merch from our merch store. We'd greatly appreciate it. We need all the help we can get to continue this nonprofit, charitable, community-oriented effort that is the nonprofit Anomaly Archives, now celebrating its 20th year, founded in 2003. We have been around for 20 years, and we need a new physical location, so we need your help. Well, that'll do it, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Good night.